Padilla is a DAO tooling platform built for the Ergo ecosystem, the Ergo blockchain, not Cardano. But there's a catch. They're actually importing all that stuff over to the Cardano blockchain, converting all their smart contracts and building their dApp around it so it would work on the Cardano blockchain natively. This gives all these projects that are building on Cardano so many more options in regards to the DAO stuff that they can use, the DAO tooling, I should say. So there's a couple out there already. There's Clarity Protocol, there's the Summon DAO, and now they have Padilla too, so that you have more choice, you have more options, and you can decentralize your options there accordingly. Now you can see their platform in action over on the Ergo ecosystem here. So this is their website. You can get to it at padilla.im. We can click on launch the app here, and you can see a few of these communities that have created within their protocol. And I'll just load up the Padilla DAO, and you can see here exactly what you can look at. There's several proposals here, on-chain voting for them as well. You can see all the proposals, past proposals and whatnot through their platform as well. So it's everything that you expect from a DAO, and all of this interface and everything else will be imported and converted over to the Cardano blockchain itself. Now, I do have Marty here joining me on this episode to talk all about that, all the Catalyst proposals and the ideas and concepts of their DAO tooling and why they want to convert it and bring it over to the Cardano blockchain. Let's get into it. So Padilla is a DAO tooling set for the Ergo ecosystem, and Marty here is joining me to talk about that and their Catalyst proposal. What on earth is going on here? Are you infiltrating the Cardano ecosystem, Marty?
Just trying to share the spread it around. You know, like I don't want to stick to just one blockchain. Cross chain is the new thing. You know, and you don't want to pigeonhole into one ecosystem. It's good to let more people utilize the platform. So we're going to bring this platform to Cardano. We're about to launch on Ergo finally after over a year of development. So it'll be great to see the beta in place just before the voting happens on Catalyst.
Right, that's awesome to see and hear that you guys are at that point to finally launch on the Ergo ecosystem. So what is your Catalyst proposal going to entail? So I'm assuming it's around all the development to bring all this DAO tooling over to the Cardano ecosystem as well.
Yeah, for sure. I noticed that, you know, some of the DAOs on Cardano were using, I think somebody was using like Google Docs, and there was a few issues, you know, where every company kind of had to make their own voting system, and everything was kind of closed source. You know, and if you're creating a governance token in a DAO to build a project, you don't want to waste your dev resources also building your DAO. You know what I mean? So what we wanted to do is provide a really easy to use Web 2 and Web 3 DAO management software suite. So when I say Web 2, Web 3, it's like you do want to be able to have a website and have comments and discuss the votes and do all these things that it doesn't really make sense, and you don't need to put that on chain. It's just bloat that you don't need in the record, you know, the blockchain record. But you also want to ensure that if you're going to put some money on the blockchain and have votes control what's done with that money, you want to make sure that's done with a smart contract. You don't want to trust people. That's partly why that's partly why I use crypto, is that it's trustless and you can do things peer-to-peer, but the code handles the things that can sometimes be manipulated by human corruption. And so that's how I think a DAO benefits. You know, governance benefits from blockchain. And so what we're doing is we've put the votes on chain and we put the money on chain. And when a vote passes, you know that that's going to happen because there's a smart contract that does it for you. But we also give a beautiful UI and make it really easy to take advantage of those systems.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. Projects do need that full trustless way of being able to govern their projects, especially if you do want that DAO-driven ecosystem behind your project. You don't want one or two people, turning the keys, essentially, releasing funds when they think it's a good time to. Now, just in the mechanics on how all that works. So I'm not really familiar with the technicals. So if a vote passes, does that then automatically release funds for people?
Yeah, so that's the idea, is that when a vote, so what you can do with Paideia is you can put your treasury or some of your treasury in a smart contract that holds onto it. So it's kind of like a wallet, and in order to spend from that wallet, uh, you have to put a vote to the community. And so that will meet some requirements of the governance that's set in place based on your DAO configuration. So what that could include is things like your quorum, um, and the threshold. So let's say you want at least 25% of the people who have votes need to vote in order for something to pass. And then typically you're going to go with 50%, 51% in favor will be a pass, right? And so what it'll do is it'll look at the number of tokens that are out there, and it'll count up how many people voted or how many tokens were used to vote, and that kind of thing. So, and once those pass, then yes, it'll automatically meet the requirements of the proposal. So, like, let's say the proposal was, we want to put $1,000 of liquidity on a DEX. If there's a transaction that you can build to do that on chain, then you can build that transaction, and then that's submitted as a proposal. And then a smart contract will tally the votes. And once those votes pass, it will submit that transaction to the blockchain.
And you can actually do that all with smart contracts, like work out the values, the total amount of votes, the percentage of votes, and then put that all into a contract to execute.
It can be done, yeah.
Very cool. I didn't know. I thought some of it had to be like off chain or something, and to do the calculations.
You kind of do well. So the one drawback with it is that nothing can be like automatically submitted to the blockchain. Like somebody or a bot has to go and like actually submit it, right? So you couldn't do future timed events and then have them and then think that they're going to just happen in the future. So that's where off-chain bots come into play. So what you do is you design a system where, after the vote passes or after a certain time frame, if the vote has passed, now you can submit this transaction to the blockchain, and the smart contract will allow it to go through. And then what you do is you have off-chain bots, and they're just basically going in and they actually do the submission. So those bots are not connected to the blockchain itself, but they do the activity of pushing that transaction through. So it's the same as like batchers, where they take a number of transactions that are approved, and they batch them up, and then they submit them in one transaction to the blockchain. And that's done automatically with an off-chain bot. So we utilize the same kind of idea for Paideia. And it'll work both. It works that way both on Ergo and Cardano.
Very cool. All right, I learn something new every day. That's great. So in regards to your proposal itself, what does the proposal cover? Is the entire development and build of this, and how much are you guys asking for?
Sorry, I think it's approximately 800 or 850,000 ADA. I'd have to double check. We did change it based on some feedback from the community. We were originally asking for more, but it was suggested that we do reduce some of the cost that we were putting towards marketing and some of the cost that we were putting towards audits. If we can get to MVP, then we can do another request for funds to audit the smart contracts in a later fund. So I think that made more sense. But the funds we are asking for should cover the development of the smart contracts start to finish to an MVP state, where users can actually use the platform. One of the nice things is because we've already done all the preliminary work for Ergo, number one, we've got the website, we've got the whole Web 2 component, the servers are up and running. And now all we have to do is build the same smart contracts that we've already built on Ergo on Cardano. And actually, the interesting thing is somebody's already done it, some of it in an open source way that we can draw from. And so we can just add the additional features that we have to the already existing infrastructure. Funny enough, they designed their smart contracts in a very similar way to the concept that we came up with on Ergo. So I guess it's just one of those things where the approach that works best happens to be the one that everyone arrives at, I think. I don't know if that's the case, but it just
great minds think alike, right?
It was funny when I found that out like last week. I was like, oh, you guys did it that way. We did it that way too. So like it's
That's
sort of
really...
like you have to stake your vote in a sense so that you can't like double vote, and you can also vote on more than one proposal at the same time, because it would be kind of silly if you could only make a proposal and then for a whole week nobody else could make a proposal. So we had to solve for that.
Yeah, okay. So it's a lot of thinking that's gone through all of this, and it's good to know that someone else on the Cardano ecosystem's gone through this. Well, are you going to be working with them or anything, or is it pretty much you're still just going on your own way?
We had a meeting with them recently. They're going to be releasing an SDK for their platform. So we haven't decided yet if we're going to try and implement the open source code in a way that fits our platform, or if it'll make sense to utilize their SDK. Sometimes it's like, why do the work twice? But other times it's like, if it doesn't quite fit, then it might make more sense for us to rewrite certain aspects of it. And then there's also the cost. What if their SDK costs are less than our cost to build it, and we can maintain that for several years into the future until we can, expand beyond that, or it pays for itself, then it may make more sense to utilize their SDK. So we're mulling it over and we're discussing with them. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. And it's also an interesting problem to try and partner with your direct competitors. So we're having that discussion with them, and we want to do what's best for the community as well, right? Especially if it's community funded.
Yeah, so. Indeed. It's either do you join forces or do you stay competitors? It's an interesting scenario there, especially when I wouldn't say there's hundreds and thousands of customers in the Cardano ecosystem lining up to form DAOs. So it's a bit of a niche market, I think, that you guys are trying to tackle.
Yeah, there's some truth to that for sure. It's hard to say actually how big the market is. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of interest in DAOs beyond just the basic, where a project launches and they launch a governance token. But there's other DAOs that people are thinking about too, and it extends well beyond the basic DeFi infrastructure into real world applications. So we may be surprised. Who knows? So keeping our fingers crossed. I've had a lot of people sort of tell me that they're interested in using it in other ways.
Does the platform possibly work for NFT projects that don't have a token but have the NFTs? Could you use the NFTs as possible voting power within the platform?
That's a tough one, because each NFT will have a unique token ID. So the smart contract would have to know every unique token ID that deserves a vote or is entitled to a vote. Whereas the other option would be that you airdrop governance tokens to each NFT holder on a certain day, for example, or a certain number every month to each NFT holder. Something along those lines. So there's various ways that you could do that, but I think that using the NFTs themselves may be much more challenging. If that's possible, if that's something we do, I don't expect to see it at MVP. But if there is demand for that and it makes sense, then we might explore that option.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, it's I've got my own NFT project that's launching very soon. I did want to use it as a voting mechanism, but I didn't want to issue a token around it because legals and the costs and everything else around it. Even if it's just a governance token, there's all this legal aspect that you got to check off. So just having the NFTs out there just makes things a little bit easier and more simple.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I wonder if, I mean, that'll be something to speak to the lawyers about, right? But I wonder if you just airdrop it rather than exchange it for money, does that kind of alleviate the issue? It's hard to say.
Hard to say. Have to speak to the lawyers about that.
Yeah.
And it's do you have money to speak to the lawyers? Like,
right.
Hopefully you would when you launch your NFT project to be able to go through those steps.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we digress. So, in regards to the proposal and whatnot, what is it on the website? Do we go directly to Project Catalyst to have a look at the proposal?
Yeah, actually, the proposal's on IdeaScale. I'll get you the link so you can put it in the show notes. And you can check out the website. Our Web 2 demo is already live. So you can kind of navigate around. All you need is actually, you don't even need a token. You can still see the DAOs, but to do a little bit more than that and to interact with the comments and stuff like that, you only need one Paideia token, which is like a third of a cent. So if you can get an Ergo wallet and you can go to the DEX and buy a couple of Paideia tokens, you can get on there and test out the Web 2 version of it and see what it's going to look like. And it'll be quite similar on Cardano. So.
Yeah, they're nice and cheap at the moment, so it's easy to get in and find out exactly how the whole platform works and everything.
Exactly.
All right, Marty, I'll make sure I grab all the links for the show notes, and if people want to support Paideia and everything that you guys are doing with the DAO ecosystem, that would be absolutely brilliant. Please check out those links and check out the website.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks, Marty. Now, if you do love decentralized autonomous organizations and everything around it, please check out their Catalyst proposals and give them a little bit of support there. They could do with your votes. Try and bring this over to the Cardano ecosystem a lot faster and bring out some of these features that they want to deliver. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving me that thumbs up, click subscribe, click on that notification bell, and you'll hear a lot more Cardano related content and maybe some Ergo related content as well. See you in the next episode.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.